When I work magic loop, I like to position my beginning of round in the middle of one of the two sets of stitches, rather than at the weak point where you pull your cables through. To do this, I have to set up my magic loop by placing roughly a quarter of the stitches on one needle, half of the stitches on the cable at the back, and the final quarter of the stitches on the other needle. Don't worry, my patterns will always tell you exactly how many stitches you need to place in each position. The purpose of this video is to show you what this process looks like in practice. So, starting with my needle tip pointing to the right, with my working yarn attached to the farthest right stitch, I'm going to separate off the number of stitches which I need on my right needle. Check the pattern that you are working for specific stitch counts. In this example, I need to have 11 stitches separated off, so I am counting 11 stitches. Then I'm going to slide these 11 stitches to where the needle meets the cable and pull a loop of the cable through. Now I am going to rotate my work so that that needle tip is pointing to the left. And starting at the point where I pulled through the cable, I am going to count the number of stitches which I need to have resting on the cable at the back. For me, that is 20 stitches. Again, if you are working one of my patterns, check the pattern for exact stitch counts, but this should be roughly half of your total stitches. And then again, I'm going to pull through a loop of the cable, and in doing so, slide the remaining stitches onto the empty needle tip. And I'll just quickly double check that those final stitches match the number of stitches which the pattern tells me to have on the left needle tip. Now my stitches are in place and it is time for me to join to begin knitting in the round. Before I do that, I am just going to open out each needle and check that my stitches aren't twisted. And I am going to also grab my working yarn and drape it over the cable at the back. Now, to join in the round, I slip the first stitch on my left needle onto my right needle purlwise. Then I take the stitch to the right of it, the final stitch that I cast on, and pass it over the slip stitch and off the needles as though casting off. Then I grab my working yarn and pull it tight. Next, I return the slip stitch to my left needle. Then I just grab my beginning of round marker and slide it onto my right needle. With that, I am ready to start knitting. If you are new to Magic Loop, I also have a video explaining the process of rearranging your needles throughout each round. That will be linked below.